Hello everyone, I am Michelle McDonald and I will be doing your professional development this month. This month we're going to talk about oral language and what does that look like in the 4K and 5K classroom. What is oral language? Oral language is the foundation for literacy development. Preschool teachers need to plan purposeful, playful daily interactions and experiences with the children in their classroom to help build a strong foundation in oral language and other emergent literacy skills. When planning for children, reflect on what your children already know and can do, and then plan to further their growth in oral language. Set clear learning goals for your students, make learning fun, engaging, and encourage them to use their oral language skills throughout the day. The purpose. Why is it important to teach or develop oral language skills in preschool? Well, based on our data and research, students struggle with reading comprehension because of limited vocabulary. The question becomes, how do we teach vocabulary, and what vocabulary do we need to teach? Vocabulary development begins early in life when children begin communicating using oral language. In preschool, it is important that teachers work with students in a natural setting to enhance their vocabulary skills. You can do this by providing opportunities for students to engage in conversation. It may sound strange, but as a teacher, you have to teach them how to engage in conversation. We will learn the answer to all of these questions and many more in this professional development. How important is oral language? Children who do not develop strong language skills during these years are less likely to be successful beginning readers, and their developmental lag behind their peers can continue throughout elementary school and beyond based on current research. Children who enter preschool with language skills behind their peers can catch up if they attend a high-quality pre-kindergarten program. Our program is that program that can make a difference for our students, but whatever you do in your classroom on a daily basis could help determine if they're going to become successful readers. Vocabulary knowledge contributes to successful reading in many ways. Vocabulary knowledge helps children decode words or map spoken sounds to words in print. If children read words that they already have in their oral vocabulary, it will be easier for them to sound out, read, and understand them. In addition, they will be able to comprehend what they are reading. If the words are not in children's oral vocabulary, they have trouble reading the words and their comprehension is compromised. There are 5 components of effective oral language instruction. They are develop listening and speaking skills, teach a variety of spoken text, create a language learning environment, teach and extend vocabulary, promote auditory memory. But in this presentation, we will only focus on developing listening and speaking skills. Conversational skills. To a certain degree, children pick up this knowledge naturally, but an astute teacher or parent plays a vital role in assisting children in their ability to be good conversationalists. I know that people like to believe in 4- and 5-year-old kindergarten that students are playing. It may appear like that to the untrained eye, but children learn through play. However, you have to structure the play so that students are learning what you intend for them to learn. There must be an objective and an outcome. Conversational strategies and peer conversations. Many of you may wonder, how do children grow their language skills? Well, lots and lots of talk. It's important to talk with children in various grouping formats: small group, whole group, and most importantly, one-on-one. Try to make it a goal each day to spend some time talking individually with each child in your classroom. Sit, talk, and stay for several minutes. If you sit down and show genuine interest in the conversation, it will encourage the child to talk more. Research has shown that there are many effective conversational strategies that teachers can use to enhance the quantity and quality of conversations with children throughout the school day. Here are some examples. Clarify and extend. Listen to what the child is saying to you. If what the child says is very short, repeat what the child says, then add to the idea and clarify if needed. Question and tell. Sit down with the child during an activity, then focus the child's attention on parts and details. To help keep the child's interest in talking, be sure to offer praise and encouragement. Think aloud. A think aloud is when a teacher talks out loud about what they're thinking while they're doing something or trying to figure out a problem. Here's how it works. Encourage the child to participate in your activity. Next, talk out loud about what you're thinking. Finally, model for the child how to think through an activity or problem to a conclusion. Please refer to your handout for examples. And then encourage peer conversations within your classroom. It is important that students talk to you, but students also learn a lot by talking to each other. How do children's vocabulary develop? Vocabulary is developed through rich interactions with adults, including multiple exposure to words. Children who are read to frequently, at least 3 read-alouds per day, with discussion before, during, and after the reading, will have more advanced vocabulary than those children who have not been read to frequently. How do children's vocabulary develop? Vocabulary is developed through rich interactions with adults, including multiple exposure to words. Children who are read to frequently, at least 3 read-alouds per day, with discussion before, during, and after the reading, will have more advanced vocabulary than those children who have not been read to frequently. Participating in discussions. How you respond when a student answers a question can encourage or discourage future participation in discussions. So pay attention to your body language. Attentive body language is important. Make sure that you expand children's responses, ask clarifying questions, and use reflective listening techniques. Things to avoid when talking to children. Number 1, correct children's grammar or pronunciation can discourage them from using language in the classroom, so you would want to recast it. Here are a few examples. The child says, "I runned to the swing." You can say, "You ran to the swing." The child says, "I want some candy." You can say, "Okay, I will give you a piece of candy." Number 2, children do not always have to speak incomplete sentences. For example, you ask, "Are you going home?" The child can respond with just a simple yes, rather than "Yes, I am going home." Number 3, research has shown that children who speak more than one language are at an advantage over children who speak only one language. They are better at paying attention despite surrounding stimuli. So you want to encourage children to speak and talk about their home language as much as possible. They can share words, phrases, songs, books, and other things in their first language with you and the children in the classroom. Number 4, early childhood classrooms should be buzzing with conversation. Encourage children to have conversations with you as well as with their peers. In order for children to develop their language skills, they need to be able to talk and have lots of interactions throughout the day. So at the beginning of the school year, take the time to teach them the social rules of conversation. For example, teach and model how to take turns talking during a conversation. One of the best ways to begin teaching this is during lunchtime with small groups of children. I am sure all of us can think of a student or maybe even adult who just does not listen. A lot of times we spend a lot of time focusing on teaching speaking and writing, but not a lot of time on teaching students how to listen. Receptive language or listening is important. It is a key component in learning. Children can be taught to be good listeners. Teachers must model good listening and speaking techniques. There are strategies to increase listening and speaking skills. Eye level. When children are speaking, get down to their eye level. Full attention. Treat children as if they are skilled at conversation. Give them your full attention and focus on what they say. Speak to all children. Speak to all children, even those who may have language delays or who are English language learners. Questioning. Ask children questions about things to which you do not know the answer. Questions that ask children to reflect on a topic or to formulate opinions and explain not only show children that you value their ideas, but also encourage them to think about their own feelings and ideas. Don't give up if children don't respond well the first time. Listening. Be intentional. Help children learn to listen to one another. Time limits. Limit group time and small group discussions to a reasonable time limit for young children. Value home language. Value all the home languages of the children in the class, including sign language for the hearing impaired. Show and ask. Help children learn to listen and ask questions by having show and ask rather than show and tell. As children bring in items or objects to talk about, have the rest of the group think of questions to ask the speaker about the item. This helps children become better listeners as well as learn how to ask questions. What needs to be taught? Sometimes our students come to us not knowing all of the things that we think they should come to us knowing, but it is our job to teach them. Sometimes their inappropriate behavior is a display of their lack of understanding of what to do or how to do it in different situations. Again, we must teach them. Do not assume that they come with the skills to be conversationalists, good listeners, and speakers. There are certain elements that need to be explicitly taught before embarking on formal instruction of oral language. Number 1, awareness of broad rules that govern social interaction. 2, nonverbal behaviors. 3, rules for listening. And 4, rules for speaking. And in the next few slides, we're going to give examples and talk more about these strategies that we can teach our students to become better listeners and speakers. These are some of the rules we have to teach our students for how to engage in conversation. Turn taking. Turn taking is very important for an effective speaker-listener relationship. Students need to recognize pauses in a conversation where they can take a turn, interrupt, ask a question, or change the subject. The floor. The person who is currently speaking is the person who holds the floor. During conversations, speakers and listeners use eye contact, body language, gestures, and pauses to judge when a new voice can take the floor. Adjacency pairs. These are the sequences of two utterances next to each other produced by two different speakers. For example, one may ask a question and the other student provides the answer. A greeting and a response. This can work well to help develop the everyday social interactions of students. Repair. Repair takes place when a speaker has to fix something they have said. For example, I said seen, but I meant saw. Sometimes students can be encouraged to check what they understand what another person is saying by asking them questions to help them clarify. Think about a student you may have encountered this year who may have shown inappropriate behavior, and as you try to address the inappropriate behavior, the student's body language may have suggested that the student had an attitude, or maybe even was disrespectful due to their tone of voice. Well, communication is more than just words. Our nonverbal behaviors also is a part of our speaking and listening in a way that we communicate. The manner in which we use voice, facial expression, and body language affects the messages we're trying to give. Students are not always aware that their posture or the way they approach another person speaks volumes itself. By creating awareness around the expressive nature of the way a person uses their body and voice, we can help pupils to become critically aware of their nonverbal behaviors and teach them how to express themselves in an effective manner. So some of the things we can address is use of voice, the volume of their voice, their intonation, pitch, pause, pronunciation, proximity, and eye contact. These are the rules for developing listening skills. Explicitly model how to be good listeners. Show the children a video of what good listening looks like. Schedule quiet listening opportunities as a part of your school day. Provide spaces in the classroom that encourage conversation and attentive listening. Create authentic learning charts to compare what is good listening. The rules for developing speaking skills are explicitly model effective speaking in formal and informal manner, provide opportunities for students to engage in conversational style speaking in the areas, providing scenario cards, give students tasks that involve observing and recording effective speaking, use role playing to teach and reinforce good conversational skills, carry out activities where the whole class read aloud, teach the rules that govern social interaction, create authentic charts to capture the mannerisms associated with effective speaking such as nonverbal behaviors, and then engage your students in conversations, whole class, small group, and one-on-one. There are 5 best practices that develop oral language and emergent literacy skills. They are shared book reading, songs, rhymes, and wordplay, storytelling, circle time, and dramatic play. Shared book reading should be a regularly occurring activity throughout your school day. Most teachers read books in whole group and small group formats, but reading a book with a child one-to-one can be just as important. As preschool teachers, you and your children are very familiar with songs, rhymes, and word plays. These activities are not only great for building oral language skills, but especially for fine-tuning the child's ears to hear sounds in speech. In addition, the predictable patterns in the activities help build children's sensitivity to beginning sounds when teaching alliteration and ending sounds that are alike. Storytelling develops children's oral language skills, active listening and oral expression, and world knowledge. Circle time is important too in your preschool classroom. Many children learn social interaction skills during circle time. Some of the skills they learn are how to take turns in conversations, listen attentively, and make eye contact when speaking with a classmate. And finally, dramatic play. Research has shown that children's participation and engagement in dramatic play can cultivate their oral language development. However, the development is dependent upon the role you as the teacher play in modeling language. Shared book reading. Preschool teachers can build language and literacy through interactive book reading. Some key behaviors to use during interactive readings are prompt children to be actively engaged in conversations about the book, clarify and extend children's understanding, expand and extend children's responses, explain the meanings of vocabulary in the book that you think are essential for children to learn, and prompt the children to use the new vocabulary in their conversations about the book. Songs, rhymes, and word plays. Many of you play your favorite songs, chant lots of rhymes, and create fun wordplay games with the children in your classroom. However, for children to receive these benefits from participating in these activities, you must intentionally plan what you need to teach and how you're going to teach it. An instructional framework to use for these activities include 3 parts. 1. Say and sing. Introduce the activity by singing a song. 2. Recite and invite. Say the lyrics, words, or wordplay sounds, then invite the children to say the lyrics or words with you. And 3. Replay. Replay the song, rhyme, or word game several times as the children join in singing, chanting, or playing with words. Once children are familiar with the activity, use props to keep the children engaged over multiple replays. Storytelling. A good way to begin storytelling, if you haven't already used this practice, is to start with storybooks such as fairy tales, folk stories, or fables. Choose a story that you like and are familiar with, such as Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Read the story a few times and then practice telling the story in the mirror. You are storytelling, not reading, so you don't need to retell the story word for word. You may want to use props to help you remember the story and keep the interest of the children. Don't forget to use voice inflections and repetitive phrases. Repetitive phrases will encourage the children to participate. When you tell the story again, the children will be listening for the phrases so they can join in on the fun. Once you've told the story to the children, read the book to them. After they have become familiar with the story, you can put the book along with any props in the reading corner for children to practice retelling the story. Circle time. There are many different types of activities that you can use during circle time, but whatever activity you decide to do, it is essential to remember this time offers many opportunities for practicing speaking and listening skills, so be intentional. You may want to focus on generating whole group conversations so the children can get the greatest benefits possible during this time. Some tips for improving whole group conversations are: allow children to do most of the talking, encourage as many children as you can to participate, keep the conversation going, look to another child for a response after one of her classmates finishes responding, and use praise, that's a great idea, and encouraging comments such as, that's very interesting, to not only keep the conversation going, but to build children's confidence as well. Dramatic play. How do we sustain the play? Well, there are several key factors that you can use to help you sustain the play. Make sure there are lots of props for each new theme. Since your theme will last between 3 to 4 weeks, you can change some of the props after a few weeks, or just add more if the children really enjoy playing with the ones you have already put out. Be sure to ask open-ended questions to keep the conversation going and act interested in what the children is saying. Help children negotiate problem solving. Model play dialogue and scenarios by participating in children's play. Observe and interact with children to monitor progress. I know I have just provided you with a lot of information about oral language in the early childhood program, particularly focusing on speaking and listening skills, but I wanted to make sure that you have some strategies and other ideas and suggestions that you can use as you work with your student. Because as you are aware, we are always continuously trying to improve student achievement in Lee County School District. Within that effort, I want to remind you how important your role is as an early childhood teacher, because you are building a foundation for these students to help them be successful throughout school and their life. As we move forward, I know that there are a lot of great things you're already doing in your classroom, but I would like to give you this opportunity to share some of your ideas. What are some activities that you use to enhance vocabulary and enhance listening and speaking skills in your classroom? You can respond on the Google form, and in our next presentation, I'll share some of your ideas. I apologize for not being able to meet with you face to face this month for our monthly professional development. However, I am in Columbia today attending a training for Read to Succeed. But I wanted to make sure that you continue to receive your professional development so that you will have some strategies you can use in your classroom. It is always our goal to improve teaching and learning. Therefore, I know how important professional development and training is. I hope that this video was very helpful for you, and I hope that there were some things in here that you could take back and use in your classroom with your students. Our follow-up before we meet next month is for you to invite me to your classroom. I would love to come to visit your classroom and see some of the fun and exciting things you're doing with your students. It will give me an opportunity to see how I can support you as a teacher as you work to help improve student achievement in Lee County School District. Again, thank you.